let me talk a little politics now. And remember, we are not politicians, but we deal with corruption and incompetence. So it is in that context that we're going to say what we have to say about the politics. So we're talking about the election of the leader of the opposition, which, Manzoor Nadir, the speaker, reluctantly, under pressure from the diplomatic community and elsewhere, said that this meeting is going to be held on Monday, the 26th of January at 10 o'clock. That is what he said. The whole country heard that. During the same address, he views out the Americans, he views out the Canadians. The man who is the Speaker of the National Assembly of Guyana don't know what is the system of governance in the United States. So he asking the United States ambassador if the U.S. has a leader of the opposition and whether the absence of a leader of the opposition in the U.S. affects the democratic process. That is the speaker, Manzoor Nadir. That is the thing he said. It's there. This is not slow and Conway making this up. Well, yesterday, I got to keep you all updated, Yesterday, I understand from what I read, is that some members of the diplomatic corps requested a meeting with the speaker. The speaker agreed to the meeting, perhaps in his own style, he might have reluctantly done that. But the meeting was held. And according to what is being reported, the meeting lasted for about an hour. So the question is, what attack he about? The people are diplomats. So they're going to use all types of fancy language with him. Even though some of these Guyanese and them, they like this feral blasting, brother, right? So they had this meeting. They had the meeting. So I said, so we don't know what was discussed. It doesn't mention what was discussed, right? However, there's absolutely no doubt that the meeting pertains to the election of the leader of the opposition. And for those of you who can't remember, the meeting to elect, because there's a meeting of members of the opposition, the 29 members of the opposition, 12 from APNU, 16 from the Reinvest in National Party, and 1 from Forward the Guyana Movement. That is the 29. So they are supposed to meet. Nadir and one the meeting, Nadir gone into all sort of extraneous things. Extraneous because Article 184 of the Constitution spells out clearly what he has to do. All he has to do is to call the meeting. He presides over the meeting. He can't vote. It's the opposition people going to vote to who the leader is. And then Nadir going to tell you what international fugitive and morality and all sort of crap he fall in, Nandalal, and talk a bundle of nonsense, right? Talking a bundle of nonsense. So we wait, and I said on Wednesday, I still hold the view that mischief is afoot. I hold the view that mischief is afoot. And remember, on the last occasion when Parliament was to convene on the Monday, the 3rd of November, the last day, the Friday the 31st, which was the last working day, the arrest Azadin Mohammed and Kaita Court, with the expectation that he would have been remanded. They said so, right? So let me watch between now and Monday to see what will happen. Let me, I am no brief for Azadin Mohammed. Well, let me tell you, if I were advising Azadin Mohammed, I would tell you, don't even mash your hands between now and then, right? Walk the straight and narrow. When you're driving to go, make sure if you are driving, make sure all your documents in order. Make sure the tire pressure on the vehicle is right. Make sure that everything relating to the fitness is okay. Because don't put it beyond them to set up something to pull you in before you go to the meeting, under some pretense or pretext to make sure you're in there this meeting. These people are evil, Let me understand it. These people are evil. And then I noted too, I read a while ago that the APNU had a meeting, and Dr. Campbell, who is supposed to lead the APNU in Parliament, has made it clear that they are not going to field a candidate for the leader of the opposition. So basically, what they're telling you, APNU will not contest, will not put up someone in the election. And it is widely expected that the party with the largest number in the opposition, Win, We Invest, headed by Azuddin Mohammed, might very well nominate. I said might, because as I said, mischief is afoot, I believe. All sort of shenanigans going on, right? All sort of shenanigans to throw us into greater turmoil. Because if anyone in the Win party should go against the wishes of the party and vote, it's probably we're talking about, because I'm sure they're going to be recalled. In other words, they're going to get knocked off. So we are into some interesting times. And let me give further advice. I've been around long, So you're going to say you see me here white, my face hard and all them. I've been around long. Parliament, I was in charge of Parliament building many years ago as a young assistant superintendent in the late 80s. When they got a sitting of Parliament, it's enough food and so on. Come in there, Now, I think in them days is Kirkpatrick Catering used to cater for Parliament. I don't know what's going on now that they got an Artichoke Convention Center. But Kirkpatrick Catering used to cater for Parliament. So they get break, they get coffee, they get tea, and they get things and so on. Y'all better work with your own stuff, even with your water. Let me repeat that. If I were in your position, me not eat nothing, me not drink nothing. Me very, very careful. Be extremely, extremely careful. Not only for Monday, but going forward. These people are dangerous. These people are walk with your own water. They get them fancy little flasks and thing now. Walk with your own water. Do like what old people say. When I was young, growing up, you have to go out. The old people say, eat before you go out. Don't go to people's place for nyam. Eat before you go. Don't go to people's place for nyam. Because things can happen. Things are just being, this old man here, all this old man doing is warning you. You have to take the warning, All of those who are going to Parliament, make sure you do the right thing. Drive carefully. If you got to go, maybe get taxi, carry you there. I hope Azuddin didn't turn up with the Lamborghini. Because if you attempt to go with the Lamborghini this time, them man was suffering from Lamborghini-itis. Gonna deal with your case. Make sure you do all that is correct. Between now and then after. Right? Between now and then after, make sure. Now, before I bring in CC, let me say this. This country that we call Guyana is not a real place. The budget is to be presented on Monday afternoon. Normally, well, they didn't say Monday afternoon. What we know normally is 2 o'clock. Parliament will convene. And then that short man can read the budget. You can read the budget. And then they're going to get DPI and all them for show all sort of propaganda out there. And then there's no debate. There's no role. I don't think there's any role for the opposition apart from just sitting down there to air the budget speech. But then after that, they'll have to go. I think they're going to some committee where they're going to examine the items proposed, the budget proposed and passed items and so on. But let me say this. The office of the opposition is a constitutional office. They are supposed to budget funds for the office. There have not been any meeting, as far as I'm aware, between the government and the opposition or anybody. So is there going to be an allocation for the opposition, the leader of the opposition in particular? And if so, how did they arrive at figures and what process did they use? And when you talk about the dictatorship, they get annoyed. But if you sit down alone and you decide how much money you give to the opposition and all of that is dictatorship. I'm certain, 100%, as we say, be sure that the opposition parties, especially the largest in the opposition, did not participate in any budgetary speech. I know that. So you just decide now that this is what you're going to give them. That is how you talk about this democracy and so on. That is why. So I'm warning them. I want to get some time because I got to deal with this sex scandal story and it's going to take a long time, right? But I think that is enough for now. So let me watch to see what is going to happen between. Well, before I say that is enough, there's a letter. There's a letter. Let me go through it, because people have said there's a lot of letters since this Mr. Manzoor Nadir, the speaker, came out with that national broadcast. A lot of people came and called him out. People calling for him to resign. They're calling for him to resign. There are several letters. There's one in yesterday's. Well, several in yesterday's papers. Both are the major dailies, and the major dailies to me are Kaieteur News and Stabroek News. Not necessarily in that order, but they are the two major dailies. And if you want, go check. There are many letters in that in those over the past 2 days. And one that I would want to read, y'all bear with me, by Suraj Dai Joglal. Right? So it's edited, for the sake of public confidence in Parliament, Manzoor Nadir should resign. I concur. And then it goes on. Dear editor, Mr. Manzoor Nadir address to the nation on January the 20th, 2026, raises serious questions and legitimate concerns about the neutrality and constitutional role of the office of the Speaker. While robust debate is an essential feature of democracy, the Speaker of the Westminster-style Parliament is expected to remain above partisan contestation and personal commentary. Guyana's parliamentary system is modeled on the Westminster tradition, where the Speaker is neither an advocate, prosecutor, nor political actor. The role of the Speaker is well established and includes: 1, acting impartially and independently without favor to government or opposition; 2, upholding and protecting the Constitution rather than interpreting it through a political lens; 3, facilitating parliamentary processes, not delaying or obstructing them; 4, safeguarding the rights of minorities, particularly the opposition; and 5, respecting and giving effect to the will of the electorate. Once elevated to the chair, the Speaker's prior political affiliations must yield to institutional neutrality. Any perception to the contrary risks undermining public confidence in Parliament itself. In this regard, it may be instructive to reflect on the example of Sir John Burkhoff, former Speaker of the British House of Commons. Although he entered the speakership as a member of the Conservative Party, Sir John became widely respected for his fierce independence from the executive. On numerous occasions, he ruled against the government of his former party in defense of parliamentary sovereignty and the rights of all members of Parliament. It goes on to say, Sir John frequently permitted urgent debates and expanded the use of urgent questions, thereby strengthening accountability and ensuring that matters of national importance could be ventilated in the House. Through these actions, he reaffirmed a central principle of Westminster democracy, that the legislature, not the executive, ultimately controls parliamentary business. And they go on. I'm going to leave some for later. But the point is, the Speaker is supposed to be neutral. So even if you came from a particular party like Nadir, well, he came from several. He came from UF Force, then he went into PPP. He was a minister in the PPP government. He's a member, well, at least he campaigned. I know he's a card-bearing member, but there's no doubt he's a member. But the point is, as the writer is saying, that once you are elected as the Speaker, you have to be neutral. But we can say without any fear of contradiction, this Speaker during the last Parliament, during the 12th Parliament, did not show any neutrality. Did not. Right? And then they come, and there's a letter, there's a post, I can deal with them Monday, I think, God's Spare Life. Because I see 00 not license to Lake Bati, write some stupid time of separation of powers. You know what is separation of powers? Can you say that there is separation of powers in Guyana? No. Because and he talk about, he said something, any law student, you got to be a law student to know about separation of powers. I am not a law student. When I went to university, when you do environments of public administration and so on, that is one of the things that you're taught. Montesquieu, separation of powers. But you can't argue that there's separation of powers in Guyana when you have, and quickly, Separation of power means you have three branches of government. You have the executive branch, which the president and the cabinet. You have the legislative branch, which is parliament. And then you have the judicial branch, which is the court, the high court and the court and so on. They're supposed to be separate. I can go into it more on the next program. Supposed to be separate. You don't have that in Guyana. In Guyana, the executive members, all the cabinet members, all of them, are members of parliament. So you have a case where members of the executive are also members of the legislative. So I don't know where Bond come out from. He been under a rock for some time and he come and he talking a lot of nonsense, right? So I can deal with that more extensively on another thing, right? Let me bring in CC and then we're going to move to the scandal in the police force. CC, go ahead.
This thing with the selection of the leader of the opposition on Monday, I'm a bit uneasy. And more so, the members of the diplomatic corps met with him, and as a real diplomats, the sort of discussions were discussions. They had interesting discussions. So I'm wondering, what really took place? What was this thing that they call interesting discussions? You give them some advice that talk with members of the opposition. They gotta be careful what they do on Monday, or even from now. I won't be surprised you hear police pick them up for something and put them in the lockups. That when time for them to be at Parliament, they're in police custody. So they gotta be very, very careful. Mind how they're treading, mind what they're drinking, mind what they're eating, because anything mischief is afoot. Anything is likely to happen. And also, I won't be surprised if the police play a role in locking up some of them, for some kind of offense, some traffic offense or some offense that happened almost 10 years ago or anything there. So I am uneasy, but hoping that the best will happen on Monday.
Well, let's hope for the best. But remember when you hope for the best, remember that, man? We always tell the younger folks, the older folks will know what we're talking about when we talk about Jackie Opel. Now, and let me see if I could get it queued up here, man. Many of them would have never heard it. Now, listen to what Jackie Opel says. put you in the mood to go into the Friday after. You got to pay. That's what Jackie Opel say. So when you hear us talk about Jackie Opel in the house, that is what we are referring to. People got to pay, right? Jackie Opel say you got to pay. You got to pay. And a lot of paying. Now it's Jackie Opel and Casrip and all sort of thing going on. Casrip